In the matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA096.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Hello.
Let's try that again. Hello,
Um,
Taylor. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Are you naked? I can only see the top of your head. I just
No,
wanted to
I'm not
Okay,
naked.
great. You're not.
Yeah,
Just wanted to make sure.
that'd be really strange after 15 years of friendship. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be great.
No, I think that'll be the end of the podcast, actually.
Ah, um, Hi. Welcome to Doomed to Fail. We are the podcast that brings you history's most epic disasters and notorious failures twice a week, every week. And I am Taylor, joined by the clothed farce.
Fully clothed. Should we announce that we're gonna take a 2-week break for the
Sure,
holidays?
we can do that now. Yeah, we're gonna take a break for the holidays, and we will be back then in the first week of January.
I
Sound
think
good?
we deserve it. I think
I
we
think so
deserve
too.
it. So,
I think so too.
and Taylor and I are gonna put our heads together as part of this little break, come up with some cool, fun ideas for the podcast going forward. And so I'm very,
Yeah.
very excited for that. But yeah, that's kind of all I got.
I did just I just picked up a book on the from the library to read for what I want to do in January, and it's 14 hours long. That's what I'll be doing between now and then. But at
That's
double
legit.
speed, it'll be 7 hours.
That's legit.
I'm listening to Wicked right now. It's pretty good. They book.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
Shall we go ahead and hop in?
sure.
I think I'm going first, right?
I think I am, but it doesn't really matter.
Okay,
I don't
you
think
go
anyone
first. I'd
cares.
rather you go
Okay.
first.
Okay, great. I don't think anyone cares. So, no, God, where did I even put my stuff? Okay. So as we head into the holidays, I did want to do this a little bit last year and I didn't get around to it because I think we just like took a break last year, but like we didn't announce it. We just like, oh my God, we're tired. So this year we're announcing it. But I have been watching Christmas horror movies. Just wanted to bring that up.
Love,
Uh,
love, love the genre. One of the
Oh,
coolest genres.
oh my God. So I watched some like 80s slashers that are like dumb, but like
Black
good.
Christmas.
Yeah, I just watched Black
Great.
Christmas. That's on my list. I was going to tell you. I wrote Ovs, very good. Um, I watched A Wonderful Knife, which is like is new
Never heard of that
and
one.
was stupid, but it was fine. Jonathan Long is in it. Do you know who that is?
No.
He was in Jeepers Creepers. He's like a couple other things.
Oh, you mean Justin Long?
Yes, Justin Long.
Okay. Yeah, I
I
know
am
who that
so
is.
sorry, America. I just think he's so annoying, and he's like plays annoying characters, but like he just like his face just like annoys the shit out of me.
I love him.
If maybe he's just like a really good actor, and like he plays annoying characters, and then I get annoyed.
I also ran into him when I was in Hollywood. I was at this one small diner across the Scientology Celebrity Center, the big mansion.
Hmm.
And I was waiting in that little deli they have there, and I was waiting for the bathroom, and he came out, and I just like sat there and stared at him, and I didn't go in the bathroom. I was like, did that just happen? Did Justin Long just walk by me?
Did you have to the bathroom?
Yeah. Yeah, I
But you
wasn't
didn't go.
stalking him. I was like there. I was
No, but I
waiting
mean,
for him to come out of the
did you
bathroom. I was
end up
waiting
going?
for
Okay.
someone.
That's funny. He I've also watched some compilations which are just like so bad, but like good. You know, the ones with like bad actors doing like 10-minute little stories about Christmas. There's so many of them on Shudder. Where it's just like 15 stories in one movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway, I was watching those. They're fun. And I wanted to talk about Santa for a little bit. And it's funny that you said that I looked like I was dressed like Santa right now, because I kind of am. I have
So
my
this was
like
deliberate.
everything. No, I actually did not think that this looked like a Santa sweatshirt, but I see that now.
Got it.
And it's
Got
very
it.
obvious that it looks like I could be wearing a Santa shirt.
Yes.
Um, so I want to talk about Santa, and then I want to talk about a time when Santa robbed a bank.
This is gonna be fun.
A little true crimey with Santa. So here's some stuff I learned about Santa just today on Wikipedia. Father Christmas and Saint Nick are not the same person, which I was surprised by. They like turned into the same person, but they didn't start as the same person. Um, in the Middle Ages, etc., in Europe, Christmas tide was celebrated, which was the 12 days between the December 25th and January 5th. And who knew the 12 days of Christmas was like really a thing that had to do with religion? I
Yeah,
didn't
I didn't
know.
know that.
So those are the I think it's Advent. Those are the 12 days of Christmas. During that time, Jesus' birthday, merriment, etc. In 567, it was called Advent. Oh, it turned into being called the Advent. Am I saying that right? Advent? Now I
Advent. Wait, what got turned into being the Advent? I'm actually.
Christmas time, like the 12 days of Christmas and Christmas time was also called the
Oh,
Advent during that time.
oh, that's why. Okay, so the Advent calendar is based on this.
I think so, but then I don't understand why my Advent calendar is all of December if the 12 days of Christmas are the 25th through the 5th, and I did not dig any deeper into that.
All good.
Okay. But remember how we talked about calendars and like time and how we should talk about that eventually as an episode?
Yeah.
Because in 567, the Romans had to like do some stuff because people were becoming Christian and they had to be like, okay, we're going to fit this into this. And it kind of moved around the holidays. So you give gifts at Christmas time because of the wise men giving gifts to Jesus. And Father Christmas, which is like from the UK and Europe, is the personification of Christmas, which is like different than Santa. Um, Of course, the Puritans tried to ban Christmas in the 1600s, and they managed to do it for 15 years at one point. They totally banned it because it
Why?
was fun. Because Puritans are not fun, and it
It
was
was
fun.
literally because it was not fun.
Yeah, because it was like you are having too much fun during this time when we're supposed to be thinking about Jesus, so cut it out. And I'm pretty sure that like when we talked about the William Bradford story a long time ago, I think that they tried to do it in Plymouth too to get rid of Christmas because it was too much fun, and they didn't want people to be having any fun. So but it came back. And obviously the Victorian era, they loved it. They loved all like the decorations and having parties and all of that. And eventually it doesn't matter because Father Christmas and Santa Claus kind of merged together into like one myth person who brings gifts and is kind and is around during this time of year. The Saint Nicholas, who's Saint Nicholas, that is the person who Santa Claus is supposed to be from, Saint Nicholas of Myra was born maybe on March 15th, the year 270. He was of Greek descent and lived in Turkey.
Why do you say maybe?
Because who the fuck knows? All this is written like years after he died.
Oh, so he was a real person though.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm kind of going, we did Father Christmas as a personification of Christmas. Now we're going to do Santa Claus, but Santa Claus was started as Saint Nicholas, who was a real person, and he's a saint. And he was a saint because they have all these stories of him like helping people. And then he probably like performed miracles and stuff. That's how you get to be a saint, which we've talked
Cool.
about. Some of the things that he did, well, he was called also Nicholas the Wonder Worker because he used to do stuff to help people. He is the patron saint of sailors, merchants, archers, repentant thieves, children, brewers, pawnbrokers, toy makers, unmarried people, and students in various cities and countries around Europe.
I I should know this, but does that mean that if you are one of those classifications, you should pray to him, or that he like what does that mean?
I think you should pray to him and like ask him for stuff because like God's busy.
Okay. Please someone write in because I'm positive that Taylor's representation of God is busy is probably not actually what it means.
I mean, either that or he's just like not paying attention to anything.
Or just not paying attention. But if you know for sure, write in, please.
If you were in charge of God's calendar, please let us know. So, some stuff that the real St. Nicholas did that's legend, but maybe true, I don't know, is he saved some girls from being like sold into sex slavery by putting sacks of gold through their window so their dad could have a dowry for them and then they could save them. There's a Renaissance painting about this. It's in the Vatican that you learn about if you go to art history school. At one point, they say he calmed a storm at sea. He resurrected three children that were butchered to make into like meat pies because it was a time of famine. He brought the children back to life. And my favorite thing that he did is he chopped down a tree that was possessed by a demon.
That's pretty cool. What did the tree do?
I don't know.
Interesting.
And like maybe he's the only person brave enough to try to chop it down because that feels like that's like a good solution.
This time period sounds like it would be kind of fun.
I don't know what else you're supposed to do. So after St. Nicholas died, his bones were put in a church in Myra, where he's from, but later they were stolen during the Crusades and like moved around. So that's the St. Nicholas that eventually turns into like Santa Claus because the Dutch called St. Nicholas Sinterklaas because that's, I don't know, the way that's what they called him. And that sounds more delightful than St. Nicholas anyway. So in the Netherlands and up in that area, Sinterklaas is St. Nicholas who like brings you toys if you're good, all those things. And he has an assistant named Zwarte Piet, which means Black Pete, who's essentially just like a helper in blackface. And they had to stop doing that.
I feel like I'm listening to Dwight Schrute describe his culture.
So now Black Pete is a chimney sweep and has like a little bit of ash on his cheeks. And he is no longer a person in full blackface.
That is more appropriate.
Yeah. So now let's talk about, but Sinterklaas up in the Netherlands, he wears red robes. So our Santa Claus is essentially like from America. The first time Sinterklaas from the North was called Santa was in the U.S. press in 1773. So that's when they turned Sinterklaas into Santa Claus in during that time. And he still like already has like he like brings children things like oranges and pennies, on Christmas.
Yep.
There's a couple things that kind of like turn him into the Santa that we know today. He in 1821, a poem first mentioned a sleigh. The night before Christmas, twas the night before Christmas. That poem was written in 1823. And that describes him as having that belly that shakes like a bowl full of jelly. The first time you hear that, he's kind of fat. And then in 1863, a Harper's Weekly magazine has him wearing an American flag and talking to the troops during the Civil War. You can buy a copy of that magazine for $750 on eBay. Kind of fun.
Sorry, he's wearing the American flag?
Yeah,
That's kind of fun.
it is kind of fun. L. Frank Baum, who wrote The Wizard of Oz, wrote a book called The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. And Santa also shows up in the book The Road to Oz as one of Queen Ozma's friends when she like has all of her magical friends over. He's one of them. And of course, the 1930s Coca-Cola Santa that everybody knows of. They didn't invent the idea of using Santa for marketing. Other things had done that before them, and he'd worn red and white before then, but that was like a really popular one. So, and then just kind of like morphs into the Santa that we know now, where he's like in a million movies and everywhere and at the mall.
Sweet.
One more aside. Rudolph was thought up in 1938 by a man named Robert L. May as a gimmick for the Montgomery Ward department store. So they were giving away books to children at Christmas time. And so they decided to make their own book. And he created this for them. He said that Montgomery Ward is from Chicago. He was in Chicago looking over Lake Michigan and it was really foggy. And he was like trying to think of a story for this book. And he said, quote, a nose, a bright red nose that would shine through the fog like a spotlight. So that's when he got his like idea to have Rudolph have his nose. And then I have the most exciting news for you, Vars.
I can't wait.
Our boy Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, will be in the public domain in 2034.
That is going to make some amazing horror
So hopefully we
content.
live until then because that's going to be fucking amazing and I can't wait. So
It
10
seems
years.
like that's the secret to amazing, fun horror movies is
Yeah,
public domain access.
absolutely. So I cannot wait for the Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer blood and
Honey, flooding
candy cane.
gifts.
It's gonna be so good. Um, that's just a little bit of history, Santa, Father Christmas, all of that.
Real quick before you move on to the actual real story,
Yeah.
did you do any research on Krampus?
No, and I know that I could have. I actually have like a scary Christmas book that I'm going to bring with me on our Christmas travels to read to my kids because I bought it because it's like scary folklore, but I didn't do any Krampus stuff. I should do that. I did watch some like Krampus parades that are always really fun because it's really scary. People get really into it.
Cool, all good. Just curious.
Uh,
There's a Krampus movie starring, I can't remember the name of the guy from Community, the comedian. But anyways, there's a movie on Netflix called Krampus, and it does look like it's on the rotation for Christmas horror
I
movie.
think I've seen it, but I need to bring that up. He was also in, is it Joe McHale? McHale? Is that him?
Yes, yes.
He was also in It's a Wonderful Life.
Nice.
So
You found
he's
a
doing the
niche.
rounds. It's very
Yeah.
exciting for him. So, all right, let me tell you a little true crime story, Fars. We did Bonnie and Clyde a while ago, and there's so much more to like the bank robbing, shoot 'em up gangsters. We should totally do that. We should do more of it. Like um, Pretty Boy Floyd, all of those guys, they're so fun. So it's 1927, and bank robberies are all the rage. Everyone wants to rob a bank. It's easy money. You see people doing it in the papers, all these things. It's almost Christmas, and it is December 23rd, and we are in Cisco, Texas, right smack in the middle. Have you been there?
Briscoe or Cisco?
Cisco.
No.
It's in the, it's in the middle of Texas. Our main criminal mastermind is named Marshall Ratliff. He was in prison for 18 years for another bank robbery that he had failed at, but he got pardoned by the governor at the time, who was Miriam Ma Ferguson. And we've talked about Ma Ferguson before, haven't we? Maybe with Bonnie and Clyde.
We
I,
either I actually remember it mostly from last podcast, but maybe.
Because I feel like she's fascinating because like she's a woman governor in the 1920s of Texas, and she was super corrupt. So his pardon Ratliff's pardon was one of 3,595 pardons that Ma Ferguson granted, and most of them were bought, probably, which is super fun. So Ratliff immediately, when he gets pardoned for this bank robbery, decides that he should
Rob a bank.
rob a bank. Exactly. So he gets his friends together, there's Harry Helms and Robert Hill. Then they have a dude who's good with safes named Lewis Davis. So the four of them decide to rob another bank ASAP. In Texas at this time, four banks are robbed a day. So it is like a dangerous ass job to work at a bank or like be anywhere near a bank. If you killed a bank robber, in today's money, the reward was $85,000. So like it's $5,000 in, $85,000 out. Not if you caught them or turned them in, if you killed them, you got that money.
Yeah, that doesn't really shock me. That kind of keeps in spirit with Texas.
I know. I wonder if anyone ever actually got it, but still. So the crew is in Wichita Falls, which is about 50 miles from Cisco. And Marshall's like, Ratliff is like, I grew up in Cisco. I can't just like walk into this bank and rob it. They're going to know it's me. So he decides to dress like
Santa.
Santa. He borrows a costume from the woman who ran the boarding house that he was using. He certainly never returns it. And I guess she just had one around. Anyway, she lets him wear it. What?
I like that you end that with like, of course he didn't return it. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
definitely,
figuring this isn't gonna go well.
definitely not getting it back. So they steal a car and drive to Cisco. They stash the getaway car. So the bank is like a one-story brick building on like a street. Think of like a old West town. It's like one of those. So they're in an alley. They stash the car behind the bank in an alley. And Ratliff, he puts on his Santa costume and starts like a block away and walks to the bank. And while he's there, he gets surrounded by children. So he's on his way to rob a bank and he's like reminding children to be good and patting them on the head and like trying to get rid of them.
I love these stories.
So he's like trying to get rid of the kids on the way to the bank. Finally, he gets into the bank. The banker says, "Hey, Santa," and there's more children in the bank. There's like people who have their children, and they're like, "Oh my gosh!" And the kids like want to talk to him, but the accomplices don't know this is happening, so they rush in and do the stick 'em up, hands up. So now they have hostages, and some of them are children because they were excited to see Santa, obviously. So there's a woman named Mrs. B.P. Blassingame. She was in there with her 6-year-old daughter. They actually escaped out the back and ran to the police station, which was only a block away. She's screaming the entire fucking time, obviously. So she's screaming, gets to the station, she's screaming. So the police are there right away. Like they had no chance. They're surrounded almost immediately. The police chief is named G.E. Bitt Bedford. Bitt was his like nickname. And he was like a big guy, a police officer for years. He ran over with his gun. Everyone else is called, everyone else is on their way. So the robbers start trying to back up. And in the meantime, they did steal some money and they're trying to back up into an alley to get out. And they end up finding two more people. So now they have 8 hostages, 2 of them are children, and they stuff them all into the car. Um, which I think is fun because you know how like cars aren't very fast
Yeah.
in the 20s. So a lot of times, like, I don't know if Bonnie and Clyde did it, but like definitely some of the other ones would do it where you would have the hostages hold on to the side of the car because the cars had like that like step. They held
Yeah.
inside the car so that cops couldn't shoot at them, which is super smart because of course the cops are going to shoot at a car that has like human beings on the outside of it.
But I guess that
For the
means
most
that
part, they didn't.
I guess if you're the kidnapper, you also have to be holding on to them from the inside so they don't jump.
It's true because it's not going very fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But either way, there's a shooting. Shooting happens. They end up losing six of the hostages, and they actually only end up leaving with the two girls. So leave with like two young girls, the four robbers, and while they are doing the shootout, the sheriff dies. So the sheriff dies and another deputy dies later. Six civilians are wounded. Like, why are there so many people in the middle of this gunfight? But I feel like they're probably trying to kill the bankers to get the money, you know?
Yeah, what a nightmare. If I was like the guy being like, "Yeah, I'll join you guys. This seems like it'll be a fun little thing," and then it turns into this.
Yeah, exactly. So the sheriff's grave, I found it on findagrave.com. And his name again is George Bedford, but I'll put the link to his grave so you can see a picture of him in our show notes as well. So now they're on the run, and they're on the run. Two little girls, four robbers. A lot of them are bleeding, and they start throwing nails out the window, like nails to like stop the other cars, which works until they realize that they're almost out of gas. So either like their gas tank was shot, or they just didn't have enough gas in the first place. They're almost out of gas. Davis, the guy who was the safecracker, he is very injured. So they end up finding another car that's being driven by like a family. They kick the family out of the car and they try to take that car. They move the money they've stolen, the very injured Davis, into that car before they realize that they don't have the keys. Like the kid who was driving the car took the keys with them and ran. So they can't take that car. So they go back into the car that didn't have that much gas left, but they leave Davis to kind of bleed out in the new car. So he's gone. Now we got two girls, three robbers on the run. But so Davis dies on the 25th. He dies like the next day. This was his only known crime. Like he was never in trouble for anything else. I think it's wild because I don't think you become a safecracker for like good intentions.
Yeah. Well, he
Like
just
how'd you know that?
never got caught, probably.
Yeah. Um, but you remember what else they brought into that second car with them
No,
besides their dying friend that I just told you
the
about?
girls.
No, they brought all the money.
Oh, the money. Yeah.
And you know what they did? They left it there.
Oh,
So now they're on the run again, and they don't even have any of the money that they stole.
I wonder if they had any money at all.
I know, probably nothing. They stole $12,000 in cash and 150,000 in non-negotiable securities, and it would have been the largest Texas bank heist to date, but they left all the money back with their dying friend in the other car, so they didn't even have money anyway after all that.
What a waste.
So I wrote, guys, all in caps, like get your shit together. That makes no sense. So now it's the biggest manhunt in Texas history to date. There's horses and posses and an airplane. And they the girls must have been like very scared and also very annoying. Like they would have been like crying the whole time. Like, you know what I mean? And so it's Christmas Day. So 2 days later, they steal another car. It's being driven by a young man named Wiley, and Wiley's father sees this happen and he shoots at the car and shoots his own son. He's fine, but like bumbling. Everyone's a bumbling idiot. And so Wiley didn't die, but he said once they like let him go, he said that like they were doing terrible. So the three robbers were doing awful. Everyone was starving. Everyone was dirty. They were bleeding. Like they were like very, very injured. And they had food. They had oranges. That's all they had to eat. And they didn't give them to the girls, which is really mean. And it's also freezing. It's icy and snowy, and they're in like the middle of nowhere, Texas. Eventually, they end up in South Bend, Texas, which is 55 miles away from Cisco. They're in a shootout with more cops in an oil field. Ratliff, our leader, gets caught. So he gets shot and finally falls. Once they get him and like pick up and look at him, he has six gunshot wounds and six guns when he gets captured. So like he was just like running for the fucking hills. And two of the police during that shootout were wounded by their own guns, a total of eight people wounded during that shootout. So just like also your gun's gonna explode in your face.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking like there's probably a lot of inaccuracy with firearms back
Yeah.
then and like misfires. But also I was wondering, were they like running around in the aftermath of this wearing their Santa costumes? Because I feel like I'd take that off immediately.
I think he got that off immediately. Yeah. But I think it had like bullet holes in it and it was probably bloody. Or maybe he used it as like a tourniquet because he's definitely bleeding this
Right.
whole. is
Right.
whole for 2 whole days. So then now there's no some and sometime during the time the two little girls get they escape, they get taken care of, probably during that oil fields fight. So now we have the two guys that are left. They end up being found a week later in a place called Graham, Texas, which is another 10 miles away. And they just got caught because they were tired and like very suspicious because they're
Yeah, of
like
course.
covered in blood, dried blood, and like limping. And once they were caught, you know, Frank Hammer, do you remember him? He's like the most famous Texas Ranger.
No.
He's the one that led the group that ended up killing Bonnie and Clyde. He
Okay.
was like the first Texas Ranger, just like exactly what you think a Texas Ranger would look like. He's like huge, has a hat,
Big mustache.
on a horse, exactly. So he said that part of this problem was the reward because people are looking for people to kill to get this money. And he said that he called it, quote, the banker's murder machine. So it's like a way to like kill people who are even being like a little bit suspicious in a bank, but also like, I don't know, those 4 bank robberies a day. What are you going to do?
It's not, yeah, something, it's not the worst
Something's,
idea in the
something's got to
world.
give. So Ratliff, our leader, he gets life for the robbery. Then he goes back to Cisco and has another trial where he gets the death sentence for the sheriff and then another life sentence for like other stuff. So he's on death row. Helms gets death. And then Hill talks about being an orphan. So he's just like one of the other guys, and he talks about being an orphan and how hard his life was, and he gets life in prison. So Ratliff is on death row at the same place that Helms is, and Ratliff gets a record player and plays like a hymn called When the Roll is Called Up Yonder, which I Googled, and you can watch a bunch of white people sing in a choir if you want to on YouTube. It's like a church song. He would play it and people would pass his cell to die, but he didn't play it for Helms. Helms tried to pretend insanity so he wouldn't get executed, but it didn't work. And he died in the electric chair on September 6th, 1929. So a little less than 2 years after the whole ordeal. So Ratliff is like, absolutely not. I do not want to be electric chaired. So he also tries to pretend insanity. His is even worse. Like he not worse. He does a better job at it than Helms. People kind of believe him, so they kind of lower their guard. So he ends up escaping on November 18th, 1929.
That's
But
exactly
he
what I was thinking this whole time. I was like, this is prison in like the early 1900s. Like, can't you just like,
walk out.
yeah, can't
No,
you
no,
just
no.
like
I'm supposed to be getting out of prison today, not in. Oh yeah.
carve like a fake gun out of like a thing of soap and just stick up your jailers?
Yeah.
Like, it seems easy.
I feel like I imagine drawing like a train um tunnel and then just like going through it like a
Yeah,
cartoon, you know?
yeah.
So he escapes, but he only got to like the lobby. He didn't get very far. They saw him. In that time, he managed to kill a guard. And then the other guard, there were only two guards there. The other guard beat him unconscious and threw him back in the cell. So he didn't get very far, but he got out and managed to like take their guns and kill one of the guards. So now it's the next day. It's November 19th, 1929, and the people of Texas are pissed. They're like, this is ridiculous. This man should have been electric chaired a while ago. He pretended to be insane. We know that he's not. He just escaped and killed someone else. Like, he is very dangerous. So 1,000 people form a mob and they break into the jail and they take him. So this mob takes Ratliff out of the jail. They try to hang him, but the rope breaks. So they get a better rope and then they successfully hang him. So that's how he dies from like a mob lynching. And no one ever is in trouble for it. Like no one
Yeah,
ever
of
did it.
course.
Like,
This
of
is Texas
course.
justice. Like,
Yeah. His body was taken to a furniture store and put on display, and about several thousand people saw it on display, which is like a wild thing that they used to do all the time. When someone died, you just like get to walk past their body for a long time.
this
So
wasn't that long ago.
I know it's like
Is that crazy?
it's like 100 years ago. Yeah. And so eventually Ratliff's mom got his body and he was buried in Fort Worth. So he ended up going back there. But he obviously was like gonna live a life of crime until the very, very end. The last guy, Hill, he was the one who was an orphan when he was younger and had like a hard life. And eventually he does get let out from his life sentence. He only serves like um 15 or so years of it. And then he gets married and he is a model citizen. He dies in 1996. He never commits another
Wow.
crime. Yeah.
Do we know what he did with his life?
I think that he like worked in a factory because he got let out in like right before World War II, and they like needed people in factories, and they were like, "Fuck it, let's get him out," you know? And they let him out, and he just like was like a normal 50s working guy until he died in the 90s. He could have been your grandpa. Like,
I
he could have
mean,
been a great.
he probably got a lot of free drinks at the bar. It's
Yeah.
like, are you the Santa heist guy?
Yeah.
I was also thinking about Reindeer Games, which is also another really good Christmas movie,
Hmm.
which was all about Santa's robbing a casino.
I watched Die Hard 2 the other day.
Nice, that's a good one too.
It is a good one. I like how much smoking cigarettes are in it.
Yeah, yeah. Which like now at our age, I'm like, ugh. I don't know. I know you feel different. You probably feel different about it.
I mean, I just can't imagine. Because also in Black Christmas, I think it's in Black Christmas, like, oh no, maybe it was another one of the 80s ones. Whatever, whatever. I watched a movie where a police officer got woken up in the middle of the night by a phone call, you know? But he picks up his phone. Next to the phone is like an ashtray full of cigarettes. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like having your bed smell like cigarettes doesn't sound great.
Do you remember
Sounds kind of
when we were
gross.
kids and we go to a restaurant and it'd be like smoking or non-smoking section?
Hmm.
Isn't that
At
weird? Isn't
first,
that crazy?
when I was in high school, I was a waitress and there was smoking and non-smoking sections in like a very small restaurant. Like it was like very dumb to
It
have
was
like
very stupid.
you were like, oh, this person 10 feet away from me smoking a cigarette. Cool. I
Yeah,
feel safe
smoking
over
and
here.
non-smoking just meant smoking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I remember. Anyway, that's it. Fun little story of a Santa robbing a bank.
Very cool. Very cool.
Hmm.
And we learned a little bit about Santa himself.
Hmm.
So good.
Yeah.
We'll use this as inspiration maybe for the next person who wants to go rob a bank.
Yeah.
Stupid idea though, because kids are gonna swarm you.
Exactly. Like they're gonna be excited. They're gonna want to talk to you. Did you ever see the Santa Claus with Tim Allen?
I'm positive I did, but I
It's
can't
so
remember
good.
it.
We've obviously watched it a bunch because I have kids, but as he's slowly like morphing into Santa, more and more kids just like follow him around and it's so funny.
That's right. That's right.
He's like
It's from
trying
that.
not to do it. People are like trying to sit on his lap.
Yeah, we went through like a phase with those movies all coming out at the same time. Like I think Jingle All the Way came out
Hmm.
at the same
Hmm.
time. Yeah, a little fun.
Yeah, super fun.
Sweet. Well, thank you for sharing, Taylor. Is there anything you want to sign us off with?
Um, yes, of course, my friend Morgan, who has been to every single place we could possibly imagine, has drank from the Fountain of Youth. It's in Florida.
It is in Florida. Okay.
Hmm.
Nice. Do we
So
know specifically where or
I do. Let me check my texts. I might not be able to find it fast enough for this recording. It's gonna take a long time. But no, she showed me, and it's incredible, of course. Oh, here you go. She said it is in St. Augustine, and she's drank from it.
nice? Did she feel any different? Do we know?
I don't know. I don't know if I told you, but she's like 150 years old, so I think it went well.
Good. Good for her.
Hmm. Hmm.
Congratulations, Morgan.
Yeah.
Well, look, if anybody has anything, so one thing that I would ask is like I would love feedback from folks, like honest like feedback of like, hey, this is good, this sucks, this is what I want to hear, like whatever it is, like, you know, give us your honest perspective on things because we like doing this and we want to know where we are doing well and more so we want to know where we're doing badly and then can improve. So please write to us, doomtofellpod@gmail.com or post a message to one of our social accounts at doomtofellpod and let us know what you think so we can improve.
Cool. I
Anything
love
else,
it.
Taylor?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Sweet. We'll go ahead and sign off.